practical field guide?
You know, I have this recurring problem.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I will read a book, like a really heavy, profound book on strategy or philosophy, and I'll spend weeks with it. I highlight the pages, I take notes in the margins, and I feel like my entire worldview has just shifted.
Right. You feel invincible.
I feel smarter, I feel completely ready for anything.
I like to call that the armchair general effect.
Exactly. That is exactly what it is, because then Monday morning hits, I walk into the office, or I get an aggressive email, or I'm just staring at a to-do list that is longer than my arm, and all that philosophy just evaporates.
It's just gone.
Completely gone. I freeze. I don't know what to actually do. It feels like there's this massive canyon between the wisdom I consumed and the reality I am actually living in.
Yeah, I mean, you are describing the universal problem of the student there.
Yeah.
It is the gap between the library and the battlefield. It is incredibly easy to be a strategist when you are sitting in a comfortable chair with a cup of coffee. It is very different when the arrows are flying, or, in modern terms, when the deadline is an hour away and the server just crashed.
And that is exactly where we are today. Welcome to episode 9 of our series on Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of Five Rings.
Glad to be here.
We have spent 8 sessions unpacking this text. We have gone deep into the earth, water, fire, wind, and void.
The heavy theory.
Right, the heavy theory. We have talked about the way in this huge capital letter sense. But today, we are doing something different. We are taking the philosophy off the bookshelf and putting it in your pocket.
And honestly, this is the most important step.
Yeah.
Because if you look closely at Musashi's life, he was not just a swordsman or a philosopher. He was the ultimate pragmatist.
Before we jump into exactly how pragmatic he was, I need to say this. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
It definitely helps us keep things going.
So our mission today is to turn Musashi's philosophy into this practical field guide. But help us understand the shift here. We aren't talking about the way in a spiritual sense today. We're actually getting our hands dirty.
We're getting our hands very dirty. It is about moving from understanding the way to actually walking it every single day.
Okay.
It is about the difference between reading a map and actually hiking the trail when your feet are blistered and it is starting to rain.
Mm-hmm.
Musashi famously hated theory that did not work in reality.
He had zero tolerance for it.
Zero. If a technique looked beautiful in the training hall but failed when it was raining and you were outnumbered on a muddy riverbank, he threw it out.
He was ruthless about utility.
Absolutely ruthless. He didn't care about looking like a samurai. He cared about surviving the cut. And that is why, for episode 9, we are focusing on the notes section.
The notes.
Right. Think of this as the bridge between high-level strategy and Monday morning reality.
Repeatable action.
Let's start with that word you just used, notes. When we say notes in the context of this study, what does that actually mean in plain English? Because usually, notes are just things I scribble on a pad and lose.
Yeah, forget the scribbles. Think of it as a field guide. It's not a philosophy lecture. Let me give you a modern analogy.
Sure.
When a pilot is flying a plane and an engine fails, do they pull out a textbook on aerodynamics?
I certainly hope not.
Right. They don't have time to derive the physics of lift and drag. They pull out a checklist.
The checklist.
A specific, ordered set of actions designed to save the plane. In the ancient world, the Stoics had something very similar. Epictetus produced a work called the Enchiridion.
That sounds like a heavy tome.
It sounds academic, yeah, but the word Enchiridion literally translates to in the hand or handbook.
Oh, wow.
It was a small dagger of a book, something you kept physically on you.
So it's a weapon, essentially.
It is a mental weapon. It serves as a collection of short reminders designed to prevent drift.
Drift?
Yeah, drift. Because when the pressure is on, when you are tired, angry, scared, or overwhelmed, you drift. You revert to your lowest level of training.
That makes sense.
You completely forget the high-minded philosophy you read last night. So a field guide is a collection of short, punchy reminders designed to snap you back to reality.
It prevents confusion when the heat is on. It stops you from freezing.
Exactly. And the key concept here, looking at our sources, is repeatable action.
Repeatable action.
Musashi did not care about the one time you got lucky and made a great decision. He cared about the standard you could hit every single time.
That is a really crucial distinction, I think. We love the hero story, the one-in-a-million shot.
Oh, absolutely. Movies are built on it.
Right. But Musashi seems to think that relying on one-in-a-million shot is actually terrible strategy.
It is a fatal strategy. If you rely on luck or sudden inspiration, you will eventually fail. There is a great line from the Architecture of Mastery source we looked at.
What does it say?
It says, "The strategist does not rely on sudden inspiration, but on the straight road mapped out on the ground."
The straight road. I like that.
Repeatable action. It's about consistency over intensity. You want a method that works on your worst day, not just your best day.
This brings us to a really painful reality for a lot of us. The difference between knowledge and use.
The gap.
The gap, exactly.
Yep.
I feel this all the time. I can read a book on nutrition, understand the biochemistry perfectly, and still eat a donut.
We all do it.
I can read Musashi, understand the concept of the void, and still completely lose my temper in traffic because someone cut me off.
Yeah.
Why is that gap so hard to bridge? Why doesn't knowing the right thing lead to doing the right thing?
Because they're completely different neural pathways. Knowing the idea is intellectual. Living the rule is behavioral.
Ah, okay.
Intellectually, you know you should be calm. But knowing you should be calm is very different than actually being calm when your heart rate is elevated and someone is directly insulting you.
So knowledge is fragile.
Knowledge without practice is incredibly fragile. It shatters under pressure.
So how did Musashi, or even modern thinkers for that matter, suggest we bridge that gap? How do we reinforce that knowledge so it doesn't just break?
Checks and standards.
Checks and standards.
You need a mechanism. Our source material references Atul Gawande's The Checklist Manifesto. It is a brilliant modern parallel to Musashi. Gawande found that surgeons, these are highly trained experts, people with decades of schooling, they were making simple mistakes.
Oh.
Not because they lacked knowledge, not because they weren't smart,
But because of complexity.
because the complexity of the situation overwhelmed their working memory. They would forget to wash their hands or forget to administer a specific antibiotic at the right time.
So they introduced a simple checklist. Just a
So just a piece of paper. And fatalities dropped. Infections dropped massively. Musashi says something very similar in the Earth Scroll. He insists on investigating thoroughly.
Right.
You need a mechanism to verify you are on the path, or, as he puts it, the spirit will warp.
The spirit will warp. That is such a haunting phrase.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It means that without a standard to check yourself against, you will drift, of course. You will think you are practicing strategy, but you are actually just practicing your own bad habits.
And you won't even realize it until it's too late.
Exactly, until you've lost the battle.
Clarity beats cleverness.
Okay, that scares me enough to want to build this guide immediately. If we are creating a field guide based on the 5 rings, what is the actual structure? How do we organize this so it fits in our pocket?
We can break it down into 5 pillars, mirroring the 5 scrolls. Think of these as the 5 check boxes on your pilot's list.
Walk us through them.
First, define your objective. This is the earth element. You must know exactly what you're trying to cut or achieve.
Right.
If you don't know the target, no amount of technique will help you. Musashi is very clear here. You must see the true path. If you are just swinging the sword blindly, you are not a strategist. You are just a hazard.
So step 1 is literally just asking, what am I actually trying to do here?
Precisely. Next, step 2. Simplify the method. Musashi was obsessed with removing what he called flourishes and indoor techniques.
Indoor techniques. I love that insult.
It is a great insult. He was referring to training halls where people practiced on smooth wooden floors, where they focused on looking graceful and proper.
Not real life.
Right. He said, do nothing which is of no use. If a movement doesn't help you cut the enemy, just get rid of it.
Simplify. Okay, what's the 3rd pillar?
Keep composure. This aligns with the water scroll. Your spirit must be determined, though calm. It is entirely about emotional regulation.
And the 4th?
Adapt without drama. This covers wind and fire. Flow like water. If the terrain changes, the method changes, but the mind does not stop.
You don't complain that the terrain changed.
Exactly. You don't wish it wasn't raining, you just adjust your footing.
That is tough, though. We love to complain about the terrain. We say things like, oh, the market changed, or my boss changed the deadline on me.
Musashi would say the terrain is irrelevant. Your reaction to the terrain is the only thing that actually matters.
Wow. Okay, and the last one.
Review honestly. This is the void, the feedback loop. You have to look at what is real, not what you wish was real. Did my strategy work? If not, why? You have to strip away your ego and look at the actual result.
I want to really drill down into the maxims that come out of this. In our outline from the sources, we have these great punchy phrases that summarize this wisdom.
Yes, the rules.
Let's unpack them one by one because I think this is where the rubber meets the road. The first one is, Clarity beats cleverness.
This one is a direct attack on the ego. Musashi warned extensively against decorative techniques, showing off with a sword. In the Wind Scroll, he critiques other schools that sell mystery and secret moves just to make money.
It's the flower and the fruit concept we talked about before, right?
Exactly. He says many schools focus on the flower, the appearance, the showiness, but the way of strategy is entirely about the fruit, the result, the reality.
So how does that look today?
In modern life, we often try to be clever. We write long, poetic emails to sound smart to our coworkers. We create complex business plans to impress investors.
We use jargon to hide the fact that we don't actually know what we're talking about.
Yes. And Musashi would say, stop. A clear email beats a poetic one. A plan that works is vastly better than a plan that looks smart.
Right?
If you are trying to be clever, you are usually trying to hide something or impress someone. If you're trying to be clear, you're trying to win.
It's about effectiveness over ego.
Always. If you find yourself trying to be smart, pause. Ask yourself, how can I just be clear?
Calm beats panic.
The next maxim is, calm beats panic. Now, this sounds kind of obvious. Nobody actually wants to panic.
Sure.
But Musashi treats this as a skill, not just a personality trait.
He does. This goes back to the concept of haijoshin, the normal mind, or everyday mind. Musashi says that in battle, your mind should be no different than your normal everyday mind.
That just seems impossible. Someone is actively trying to cut you down with a sword. How can your mind be normal?
That is the paradox of training. Panic is a complete collapse of form. When you panic, your vision narrows. You literally get tunnel vision. You lose fine motor control. You forget your training. You just flail.
Yeah.
Musashi argues that if you practice keeping your spirit immeasurable and broad in daily life, you can bring that exact same spirit into the duel.
So the goal isn't to be pumped up or aggressive. Because I think a lot of people assume strategy requires this high-energy, hyper-aggressive state.
No, that state is brittle. If you are pumped up, you can be deflated. If you're aggressive, you can be baited into a trap.
Right.
The goal is to be constant. Calm is sustainable. Panic is exhausting. A calm strategist sees everything on the field. A panicked strategist sees absolutely nothing but their own fear.
So in a business meeting, when things go sideways, the person who raises their voice has already lost.
They have lost their form. They are flailing. The person who leans back, takes a breath, and assesses the situation with haijoshin, that is the person who controls the room.
The standards beat moods.
This next one is my absolute favorite, and honestly, I think it is the hardest one to live by. Standards beat moods.
Oh, yeah. This is the essence of discipline. It is the dividing line between the amateur and the professional.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
We live in a world that talks a lot about listening to your body, honoring your feelings, self-care. If I wake up and I'm exhausted or I'm just feeling down, isn't it valid to say, not today?
It is valid to rest. Musashi is not against rest, but he is very much against letting the mood dictate the action. There is a fundamental difference between needing physical recovery and just not feeling like it.
Right. One is physiological, the other is emotional resistance.
Exactly. You might not feel like doing the work. You might feel uninspired, grumpy, or anxious.
Sure.
The amateur stops working when the mood fades. They wait for inspiration. They wait for the muse to strike. The professional, the strategist, has a standard. And the standard demands the work, regardless of the mood.
It's separating how you feel from what you do.
Yes, you can feel terrible and still perform excellent work. Your feelings are real, but they are not commands. They are just weather.
Just weather.
You don't have to feel good to act well.
That is really liberating, actually. I don't have to wait to feel confident to do the confident thing. I just have to do it.
And often, the feeling follows the action. You do the work, and then you feel better. If you wait for the feeling first, you will wait forever.
Simple beats showy.
Next up, we have simple beats showy. This feels somewhat connected to the clarity point, but it's slightly different.
It connects back to his rule of doing nothing which is of no use. Our source material mentions avoiding a fondness for a particular tool.
Oh, I am completely guilty of this. Buying the fancy notebook, the complex software, the absolute best gear before I even start a hobby.
We all are. We fetishize the tools. We think the tool will do the work for us. Musashi explicitly warned against relying on a specific favorite sword or a specific trick. He said you should be able to use whatever is at hand.
Even a wooden oar.
Famously, yes. In his duel with Ganryu, he carved a wooden sword from an oar on the boat ride over. He didn't use his famous steel blades. He used what was appropriate for that exact moment.
That is simple in the extreme.
It is. And sometimes we use a complex tool or a fancy app just because we like it, not because it's actually the best way to solve the problem.
Right.
Use what works, not what looks impressive to others. If a sticky note works better than a subscription software, use the sticky note.
Adapt the method.
And finally, for the Maxims, adapt the method, keep the objective.
This is the triathlete interpretation of Musashi we looked at in the sources. The train changes. The weather changes. Sometimes the swim portion is canceled because the water is too rough.
So the race is still on.
The race is still on. If your objective is to cross the finish line or win the duel, you cannot be rigid about how you step. The goal is the victory.
The cut.
The cut. The method, the sword, the strategy, the route can and must change if the situation demands it.
So many people fail right here. They fall in love with their plan. They say, but I plan to do it this way.
And while they are mourning their beautiful plan, the enemy strikes. You must be fluid. Musashi says to be like water. Water takes the shape of the cup. It does not argue with the cup.
Rules are tools.
This brings up a really important point about mental health and just, well, safety. We were talking about rules, standards, checklists, discipline. To some people, that can sound really rigid, kind of robotic, a bit joyless.
That is a very real danger. If you take this too far, you become a machine. You become brittle.
Right. So let's talk about the guardrails. How do we keep this practice healthy? How do we use the field guide without becoming a prisoner to it?
The first guardrail is crucial. Rules are tools, not identity. Do not become rigid. The rule serves you. You don't serve the rule.
Can you give me an example of that?
Let's say your rule is, I wake up at 5 in the morning to work. That is a solid standard. But say you have a newborn baby, or you are sick with a terrible flu. If you force yourself to wake up at 5 just to follow the rule, you are actively hurting yourself. You are compromising your long-term health for a short-term rule. In that moment, the rule is no longer serving the objective of excellence. It is serving your ego.
Wow.
If a rule is no longer serving the objective, you drop it or you modify it.
Standards without rigidity.
Exactly. Be incredibly strict with yourself, but fluid with the situation.
Wow.
Also, critique without arrogance. We talk about reviewing, honestly looking at the void. But that doesn't mean beating yourself up or judging others.
Right. Musashi says to critique your own faults, but do not use the rules to judge others haughtily.
It is very easy to read Musashi and then look at everyone around you and think, oh, they have no discipline. They are weak.
I'm better than them.
Exactly. And that is pure arrogance. That is the spirit warping again. Just focus on your own cut.
And finally, repeatable practice over hype.
The true goal is a steady spirit, not an emotional high.
Oh.
You aren't looking for a movie montage moment with dramatic music playing in the background. You are looking for a random Tuesday where you simply did what you said you were going to do. It's quiet, it's often boring, and that is exactly where the victory lives.
I want to make this totally real. We have covered the theory of the field guide. We have got the maxims. Let's look at the practical side 3 real-world examples of how to apply this in the wild. Because our listeners are dealing with bosses, spouses, and bad habits, not swordsmen.
Right.
Let's start with work.
Okay.
The problem is incredibly common. You have way too many tasks. You are feeling overwhelmed. You open your inbox, and you physically feel that tightness in your chest. You are paralyzed. How does the field guide help here?
You stop. First, you apply the Earth principle. You look at the big picture. You realize you cannot do everything at once. That is a physical impossibility. So you apply the maxim, clarity beats cleverness.
And that
You choose the next clean step.
it's just one step.
Just one. Do not try to multitask. Do not try to solve the whole project right then. Do the one useful thing. Do nothing which is of no use. Worrying is of no use. Complaining is of no use. Doing one small task, sending that one reply, writing that one paragraph is useful.
It cuts through the paralysis.
It breaks the freeze. Motion creates clarity.
Okay, next scenario. Relationships. This one is tough. Tension is rising in a conversation. You are arguing with a spouse or a colleague. They just said something that really triggered you. You want to snap back.
This is the battlefield. This is exactly where calm beats panic comes in. You use the field guide to check your spirit. Is your spirit agitated? Are you trying to win the argument by being clever with your insults?
Ouch, I think we have all been there. Trying to score points rather than actually solve the problem.
Musashi would say, stop. Keep the tone calm and the message simple. Don't add useless insults or complaints. Stick to the objective.
Right.
If the objective is to resolve the conflict and have a peaceful working relationship, then screaming is of no use. Screaming actively moves you away from the objective.
So you basically ask yourself, does this next sentence help me reach the objective?
And if the answer is no, you swallow it. That is discipline.
Wow. Okay, third scenario, habits. Let's talk about inconsistency. You fell off the wagon, you missed the gym for a week, or you broke your diet, or you just stopped meditating entirely.
This is where standards beat moods is critical. The amateur spirals into guilt. They say, oh, I failed, I'm terrible, I might as well just give up entirely. That is drama.
Yeah.
That is showy emotion.
It's weirdly self-indulgent, isn't it? Wallowing in the guilt.
It is very self-indulgent. It keeps the focus entirely on you and your feelings rather than on the work.
So what does the strategist do instead?
They use the field guide to return to baseline. You don't spiral. You don't make a big dramatic speech about how starting tomorrow everything changes. You just reestablish the standard and resume.
Just start again.
You slipped. Okay, stand up. Keep walking.
No drama. Just resume.
Just resume. The path is still right there.
Field guide reset.
I think we should actually try this right now.
A live exercise.
Yes, a field guide reset. I want to invite you, the listener, to do this with us, whether you are driving, walking, or sitting at your desk. We aren't going to leave big, awkward silences, but we will slow the pace down slightly. You can just do this in your head.
Let's do it. This is a recalibration.
Step 1. Pause and soften the body. Release the tension in your jaw, drop your shoulders, unclench your hands.
Physical looseness leads to mental looseness. You cannot have a fluid mind in a rigid body.
Step 2. Name the objective in one sentence. What are you actually trying to do right now? Not in life, but right now.
Cut through the noise. Identify the target.
Step 3. Name what matters most right now. Just one thing.
Is it finishing the report? Is it listening to your child? Identify the priority.
Step 4. Name what you can ignore for now. What are the distractions?
Prune the tree. Ignore the phone. Ignore the worry about tomorrow.
Step 5. Choose the simplest next step that moves the objective forward.
The smallest cut. What is the one action you can take immediately?
Step 6. Choose one standard you will follow today. Just one.
Calm. Focus. Honesty. Kindness. Pick one word to be your banner.
Step 7. Do one proof action now. Make a mental commitment. Say, I will do this.
Lock it in.
And step 8. End with a short review question. Did I stay clear and steady?
That is the loop. You can do that in 30 seconds.
It feels like hitting a reset button on your brain. It just clears the cache.
It really is. It's like wiping the fog off the windshield. You can finally see the road again.
Before we wrap up, we absolutely need to talk about the traps. Because even with the field guide, people get lost. The map is not the territory. What are the common mistakes students make when they try to live this way?
There are 5 big ones we see repeatedly in the source material.
Let's hear mistake 1.
Over-specialization. Relying too much on one way of doing things. It's the whole I only use a hammer mentality. The fix is to be broadly interested, see the way in all things, learn from carpentry, learn from tea ceremony, learn from coding. It all connects.
Mistake 2.
Rigid obsession. Thinking the rule is the absolute goal. We talked about this earlier. The map is not the destination. Remember the water element. Flow, don't freeze. If the rule stops working, flow around it.
Mistake 3.
Neglecting trifles. Ignoring the small details. People say, oh, it doesn't matter if my desk is messy, or it doesn't matter if I'm 5 minutes late.
But Musashi was obsessed with details.
The small details build the entire foundation. If you ignore the small crack in the foundation, the whole wall falls down. If you hold your sword wrong by just an inch, you miss the cut. Pay attention to the trifles.
Mistake 4.
Relying on theory. Thinking that just because you read the book, you can go out and fight the duel.
The armchair general again?
Exactly. You have to test everything against reality. The outdoor versus indoor techniques we discussed? Go outside. Try it. Fail. Adjust. Theory is totally useless without the fire of practice.
And mistake 5. This one feels pretty profound.
Stopping before the end. This is a concept called Zanshin, the lingering spirit. When the enemy or the problem is collapsing, you relax. You think it's over. You sheath your sword way too early.
And that is when you get hit.
That is exactly when you get hit. The project is 90% done, so you slack off, and the quality tanks. The argument is almost over, so you say something careless, and it flares right up again. When the problem is collapsing, you must push through to the finish. Complete the cut.
Complete the cut. I absolutely love that. Let's recap. We have covered a lot of ground today. If we had to summarize this field guide into 7 bullet points for someone to memorize, what are they?
First, the field guide is for action, not reading. Keep it handy.
Next.
Second, clarity is power. Be clear, not clever.
Third,
Keep the spirit calm. Calm beats panic every single time.
Fourth,
Fourth, rely on standards, not moods. Do the work even when you don't feel like it.
Fifth,
Fifth, keep it simple. Use what actually works.
6.
Sixth, adapt to the terrain. Be like water.
And
Finally, review your path honestly. Look deeply at the void.
a perfect summary.
It is a lot to take in. But remember, simple beats showy. Start with one thing. Just pick one of these maxims and try to live it for a single day.
Killing sword. Next.
Next time, we are going to a slightly darker, more intense place. Episode 10 will cover the killing sword.
Yes, we will be talking about will, mood, and presence. It is really about the decisive moment. It's about how to bring your full spirit to bear when it truly matters.
I cannot wait for that. I think it's going to be a fantastic study. Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.